Chapter 1, First Light, First Shadows. The bioluminescent flora of Xylos Prime pulsed with an ethereal glow, casting long, dancing shadows across the research domes of the nascent human colony. Dr. Aris Thorne, her dark hair pulled back in a practical braid, adjusted the magnification on her handheld scanner, her brow furrowed in concentration. Around her, the colony hummed with a low, almost organic thrum, a symphony of advanced technology intertwined with the planet's alien heartbeat. "Anything, Aris?" The voice, clipped and efficient, belonged to Commander Eva Rostova, her face etched with the lines of a woman who'd seen too many sunsets on too many alien worlds. Aris shook her head, her gaze fixed on the swirling patterns of light emanating from the obsidian veins snaking beneath the surface. "The energy fluctuations are erratic. Not the gradual depletion we predicted. There are spikes, surges, almost like intentional bursts." "Intentional?" Rostova's skepticism was sharp. "By whom, or what?" "That's what I'm trying to determine," Aris replied, her voice low. "But it's not just the obsidian. I've noticed subtle changes in the bioluminescent flora too. Their rhythms are off." A young researcher, Jax, piped up from behind, his voice full of youthful enthusiasm bordering on recklessness. "Maybe it's just the planet settling in. Give it time." Aris glanced at Jax, a flicker of weary understanding in her eyes. Jax's optimism was admirable, but naive. They'd been on Xylos Prime for 2 years, and the planet was far from settled. The obsidian, the lifeblood of the colony, was the cause for concern. It was fueling their power grid, their life support, their very existence. Suddenly, the colony's lights flickered, plunging them into near darkness, broken only by the eerie glow of the planet's flora. Alarms blared, a cacophony of warning signals echoing through the dome. "What was that?" Jax yelped, his voice tinged with fear. Rostova gripped her side arm, her eye scanning the shadows. "Energy surge. Major 1. And it's not tapering off." Aris's heart pounded in her chest. This wasn't just a technical malfunction. This was deliberate. This was something else. "Get to the emergency shelters." Rostova barked, her voice ringing with authority, but beneath the steely surface, Aris sensed a tremor of fear. "Aris, report back immediately. Whatever is happening, it's bigger than we thought." The ground trembled beneath their feet. The bioluminescent plants pulsed with frantic energy, casting frantic, erratic shadows. This wasn't a simple energy shortage. This was an attack. And Aris Thorne, with her quiet brilliance and unwavering resolve, was the only one who could understand the nature of this new enemy. The shadows were lengthening, and the first light of a new and terrifying dawn was breaking. Chapter 2, The Whispering Ruins. 3 days later, Aris, along with Jax and 2 seasoned security officers, Kale and Lena, stood at the entrance to the ruins. Towering structures of obsidian-like stone, etched with intricate, alien glyphs, rose from the phosphorescent undergrowth like skeletal fingers reaching for the perpetually twilight sky. The air hummed with a low, resonant thrum, a palpable energy that prickled the skin. "This place, it's unsettling," Lena murmured, her hand resting on the butt of her pulse rifle. Kale, a veteran of countless skirmishes, simply nodded, his gaze sharp and alert. Aris, however, felt a thrill of scientific curiosity overriding her apprehension. "The energy spikes originate from within," she stated, her voice steady despite the palpable unease. "The glyphs? I believe they're a form of energy conduit." They navigated the labyrinthine corridors, the air growing heavy with the scent of ozone and something else, something ancient and faintly organic. Bioluminescent fungi clung to the walls, casting an eerie, shifting light that played tricks on the eyes. Jax, despite his initial fear, was captivated, snapping photos with an almost manic energy. Suddenly, a guttural screech echoed through the ruins. From the shadows, creatures emerged, small, bipedal beings with iridescent skin and oversized eyes, their movements surprisingly agile. They seemed more curious than aggressive, their chittering calls echoing through the silence. "What in the galaxy are those things?" Jax whispered, his voice barely audible above the throbbing pulse of the ancient stones. Aris activated her scanner. Extremophiles. Adapted to the high levels of obsidian energy. Fascinating. Her voice held a note of wonder, even in the face of the unknown. They continued deeper, their scanners constantly beeping, registering the escalating energy levels. They reached a vast chamber, its walls covered in colossal crystalline formations, pulsing with an intense, almost blinding light. At the center, a colossal, crystalline structure throbbed with raw energy. As they approached, a shadowy tendril, a swirling vortex of darkness and energy, snaked out from the central structure. It was immense, vaguely amorphous, and undeniably sentient. A low growl, a sound that seemed to resonate within their very bones, shook the chamber. "That's it," Aris whispered, a mixture of awe and terror in her voice. The Shroud. Before anyone could react, the shadowy tendril lashed out, striking Kale with a blast of pure energy that sent him flying. Lena fired, but her blast seemed to dissipate harmlessly against the amorphous entity. Jack screamed, paralyzed with fear. Aris, driven by adrenaline and a fierce determination to survive, grabbed Jax and dragged him towards the exit, escaping the chamber just as the central crystal exploded in a blinding flash of light. They fled, leaving Kale behind, the eerie whispers of the ruins echoing in their ears. The escape was a harrowing race against time and a chilling encounter with the true nature of the alien force they faced. The expedition had yielded crucial data, but at a terrible cost. Chapter 3, The Shroud Revealed. The colony medical bay hummed with a low, sterile thrum. Kale, bruised but alive, lay in a medically induced sleep, his body slowly recovering from the energy blast. The atmosphere in the main research dome, however, was anything but sterile. Tension crackled in the air like static electricity. Aris, her face etched with exhaustion and grim determination, presented her findings to a hastily assembled council. On a holographic display, the shadowy tendril from the ruins writhed, its form shifting and reforming, a terrifying dance of pure energy. This is not a natural phenomenon," Aris stated, her voice tight with urgency. "This is a sentient energy being. I'm calling it the Shroud." Rostova, her expression grim, leaned forward. "And what does it want?" "I believe it considers our presence a threat," Aris replied, her gaze intense. "The energy spikes, they weren't random. They were attacks, defensive measures. The Shroud is protecting something, or itself." A heated debate erupted. Jax, still shaken from his near-death experience, argued for immediate evacuation. Others, driven by the colony's desperate need for obsidian, insisted on continuing the energy extraction. The political pressure from Earth added another layer of complexity. Earth demands a continued supply of obsidian, a council member, Theron, stated bluntly. "They're ignoring our warnings. They see only the resource, not the danger." Aris slammed her fist on the table, the holographic projection shimmering. "Ignoring the danger is suicidal. The Shroud is powerful, far beyond anything we've encountered. We're not just facing a resource shortage, we're facing extinction." Unexpectedly, a message arrived from Earth, overriding the Council's discussion. A high-ranking official, a cold, unyielding voice, barked orders to increase obsidian extraction immediately, dismissing Aris's warnings as the overreactions of a hysterical scientist. Aris felt a surge of icy fury. This wasn't just about scientific discovery anymore. This was a fight for survival, a battle against an indifferent bureaucracy and a terrifying, unknown enemy. "We cannot simply obey," Aris declared, her voice echoing through the tense silence. "Ignoring the Shroud will only provoke it further. We need a different approach, a solution, not blind obedience." The council remained divided, but a seed of doubt had been planted. Aris knew the odds were stacked against them. She faced not only a powerful, unknown enemy but also a powerful, uncaring bureaucracy. But Aris Thorne was not a woman to surrender easily. She had a plan, a desperate gamble that could save the colony, or destroy them all. The fight had just begun. And she was ready. Chapter 4, Desperate Measures. The colony hummed with a frenetic energy, a stark contrast to the eerie calm of the previous days. Aris, her face etched with determination, oversaw the frantic preparations for her audacious plan, harnessing Xylos Prime's unique bioluminescent flora to disrupt the Shroud's energy field. The Xylos flora, Aris explained to her team, gesturing to schematics projected on a wall, possesses a unique bioluminescent energy signature. If we can amplify and modulate it, we might create a counterfield, a disruptive force that will weaken the Shroud. Jax, despite his lingering fear, worked tirelessly, his youthful energy a counterpoint to the grim determination of the others. Lena and Kale, still recovering from their encounter with the Shroud, contributed their expertise in tactical deployment and weapons systems, adapting existing technology to Aris's unconventional plan. "It's a long shot," Lena admitted, her voice grave. "But it's our only shot." The plan was audacious, bordering on reckless. It involved modifying a rare species of sentient plant, the Lumina venenum, known for its potent bioluminescence and unpredictable nature. Manipulating this species carried ethical concerns, but the threat of extinction overshadowed any moral qualms. The very act of modifying them could unleash unforeseen consequences. The night of the implementation was fraught with tension. The modified Lumina venenum plants, glowing with an amplified, pulsating light, were strategically positioned around the colony, creating a network of interwoven bioluminescent energy. The moment the network activated, the colony was plunged into an eerie silence, broken only by the hum of the modified plants. Then, the attack began. The ground shook violently. The sky blazed with chaotic energy as the Shroud retaliated, lashing out with furious blasts of raw power. The energy shields around the colony flickered, threatened to collapse. "It's working!" Jax shouted over the roar of the energy storm, his voice choked with a mix of excitement and terror. "The counterfield is weakening it." Lena and Kale fought back to back, their weapons blazing, defending the crucial plant clusters. The battle was fierce, a chaotic ballet of laser fire and energy blasts. But then, a horrifying development unfolded. The Lumina venenum plants, overwhelmed by the immense energy surge, started to mutate, their bioluminescence shifting into a threatening, crimson glow. Their previously controlled energy output became erratic and dangerously powerful, threatening to consume the colony itself. Aris watched, her face a mask of grim determination, as the situation spiraled out of control. Her plan, born of desperation, threatened to become their undoing. The line between salvation and annihilation was now razor thin. The next few moments would determine their fate. Chapter 5: The Obsidian Storm. The crimson glow of the mutated Lumina venenum plants intensified, casting a hellish light on the ravaged colony. The energy surges were now far more powerful, threatening to overwhelm the colony's shields and rip the domes apart. The Shroud, initially weakened by the counterfield, was now invigorated by the chaotic energy of the mutated plants, its attacks becoming even more ferocious. "The plants, they're amplifying the Shroud's power!" Lena screamed, desperately trying to suppress a mutated plant cluster threatening to overload the power grid. Kale, fighting back to back with Lena, took a direct hit, falling heavily to the ground. His pulse rifle clattered, useless. Jax, his face pale with terror, scrambled to help, desperately trying to reprogram the energy dampeners. Aris, her mind racing, realized the terrible truth: her plan had backfired. She had underestimated the sentience and power of the Lumina venenum. They weren't simply reacting, they were actively participating, creating a feedback loop of destructive energy. "We need to sever the connection," Aris yelled, fighting through the chaos. "Isolate the mutated clusters. Now!" The situation seemed hopeless. The colony was tearing itself apart, caught between the fury of the Shroud and the raging power of the mutated plants. It was a battle against not just an alien entity, but also against the very nature of their desperate gamble. Aris, driven by a primal instinct for survival, made a reckless decision. She activated a fail-safe protocol, a self-destruct sequence for the affected plant clusters, sacrificing a section of the colony in the hope of containing the chaotic energy. The resulting explosion was cataclysmic. A blinding flash of crimson light ripped through the colony, followed by a deafening roar. The mutated plant clusters were destroyed, but the energy surge continued, causing widespread damage. In the aftermath, the crimson glow faded, replaced by the eerie green light of the remaining, unharmed plants. The Shroud, momentarily disoriented, seemed to recoil, its attacks diminishing in intensity. The counter-field, though weakened, still held, buying them precious time. The battle was far from over. The colony was in ruins, but it was still standing, a testament to the human will to survive. Ares, though weary and covered in soot, looked out at the devastated landscape. The victory was Pyrrhic, achieved at great cost. But they had survived, their resilience and ingenuity showcased in the face of overwhelming odds. The fight for Xylos Prime would continue, but for now, they had bought a reprieve, a chance to regroup, to plan their next move against the Shroud and its unpredictable power. Chapter 6: Echoes in the Light. Dawn broke over Xylos Prime, casting a pale green light on the devastated colony. The air hung heavy with the scent of ozone and scorched earth. The once vibrant domes were scarred and broken, testaments to the brutal battle. Casualties were heavy, but miraculously, the majority of the colonists had survived. Ares, her face etched with exhaustion but her eyes burning with a quiet resolve, surveyed the damage. Kale was recovering, Lena was tending to the injured, and Jax, though shaken, was already working on repairing the damaged energy conduits. The Shroud, it's retreated, Jax reported, his voice hushed with awe. The energy readings are stabilizing. Ares nodded, her gaze fixed on the horizon. The victory was far from complete. The Shroud hadn't been defeated, it had simply been pushed back. The fragile truce was a testament to the humans' resilience, but it was a precarious one. A message arrived from Earth, filled with cautious congratulations and urgent requests for a full report. This time, however, the tone was different. The Earth Council, shaken by the scale of the catastrophe and the revelation of the Shroud's power, finally acknowledged the seriousness of the situation and the validity of Ares's assessment. "They want to know how we did it," Lena remarked, a wry smile playing on her lips. "And whether we can do it again," Kale added, his voice still hoarse from his injuries. Ares looked at her team, at the survivors huddled together, their faces reflecting a mixture of exhaustion and grim determination. They had faced an impossible enemy, risked everything, and somehow, they had survived. But the fight was far from over. The Obsidian Shroud was still out there, a silent threat lurking in the shadows. The echoes of the battle still resonated through the ruins, a reminder of the cost of their hard-won victory. "We won't simply repeat the same tactic," Ares said, her voice firm and steady. "The Lumina Venenum, they showed us something. They showed us the potential for unforeseen consequences, the delicate balance between control and chaos. We need a new approach, one that respects this planet and its power, instead of trying to exploit it." As the sun climbed higher, casting a hopeful glow on the ravaged landscape, Ares addressed her team, her voice carrying a quiet strength that inspired confidence. "We have faced the darkness, and we have survived. Now, we will learn from our mistakes, and we will face the future together. We will find a way to coexist with this planet, with this Shroud. We will find a way to survive." The future was uncertain, but amidst the devastation, a new understanding and a renewed determination had taken root. The echoes of the battle would forever shape their destiny, but they would face whatever lay ahead, united and resolute. The fight for Xylos Prime was far from over, but humanity had planted its flag, and it wasn't giving up.